Wyatt came up with a basic concept. The design is not it's experimental, but it will be very useful.
Does this end kill Nazis?
Enthusiastically so.
Panic Button did the impossible last year and ported Doom to the Switch, one of the greatest shooters of all time and one that was built from the ground up for PS4 and Xbox One. Sure, the frame rate and resolution were pretty much cut in half, but to have a current gen game running on what's essentially a handheld shows how far we've come. And they've done it again with Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus. Despite adoring the New Order, I actually let the sequel pass me by during the initial release, and so the Switch version was my first exposure to the Nazi-killing follow-up. And man am I floored! The New Colossus ramps up the tension, the stakes, and creates a more personal journey with one of the most hateful antagonists in all of gaming. While Doom went for the shoot now, ask questions later approach, Wolfenstein has a far more linear style of storytelling and is surprisingly gripping, even if at times ridiculous. There are so many effective moments though that draw direct parallels with Nazis and racists. See, Wolfenstein takes place in alternate history where Nazis won World War II, and while some fight back, others embrace the dictatorship. It creates some really uncomfortable scenarios, especially in scenes where all you can do is sit back and watch. The story really is a highlight of the New Colossus, and it throws all this built-up tension at you, only to then let you storm out and destroy everyone. You can probably tell that I like this game, which means the port must be good, right? And yes, absolutely. Panic Button have managed to take a game visually more diverse than Doom and bring it over to Switch with seemingly better results. During normal and intense firefights, I didn't even notice frame rate drops. What I did notice though is the image quality getting a tad blurry in scenarios with heavy fog and smoke effects. It feels like they prioritize frame rate, and it really works out for the best. I actually recommend playing this in handheld mode, as the lower resolution looks pretty good on the smaller screen. Though docked is certainly nothing to be scoffed at, this is easily one of the best looking games on the Switch. Moments like this, with floorboards flying everywhere, don't even seem to make the Switch sweat, which is astonishing. Those who stuck around with Doom will know that it was eventually patched with gyro controls, and man did that change things. Now here's one little issue that popped up, which could be a big issue if you aren't aware of what to do. When I first started playing Wolfenstein, the menu was completely static, like I couldn't move up or down and the only inputs it would recognise were A and B. So I could start the game, but I just couldn't adjust anything. It wasn't until the 6-hour mark where I found a workaround. For whatever reason, I needed to reboot my Switch from scratch. For a fellow journalist, they only had to do this once. I had to do it 4 times though. No idea why this is the case, and hopefully it's patched by the time you guys get your hands on it, but now that it works, the issue has never popped up again. While a weird glitch, it actually came with a perk. I played half the game without gyro and the other half with gyro, and boy do I appreciate that second half even more. Gyro controls let you make such small refinements to your aim, and it's honestly comparable to a mouse and keyboard. At this point, they've pretty much become a control standard for the Switch, and if playing Wolfenstein on the go wasn't a selling point for you, gyro should be. It's a game changer. All this makes Wolfenstein not only a great Switch port, but it gives it perks over other versions. If visuals are what you care about, go for last year's originals, but it's insanely impressive what they pulled off here on such small hardware.
What a funny sight. The mastermind crawling around in her own filth. Oh, Moscovich.
Wolfenstein isn't your average World War II shooter. Having lost his ability to walk, BJ Blazkowicz relies on a special suit that makes him a borderline super soldier. This lets him rampage around at high speeds and dual-wield just about anything regardless of how heavy it is. When BJ doesn't have the suit though, it reminds you that he's just a fragile human. The game even opens with him in a wheelchair, but he's still kicking butt. The sheer amount of combat options is staggering. You can take it slow and deal with all the Nazis with stealth. You can stay behind cover and lean out dealing with them one by one. Or you can run and gun and use their own weapons against them. The game even incentivizes you to mix up playstyles with perks rewarded for performing different actions. Whether you're sneaking around with a silenced pistol or painting the walls with dual shotguns, every single blast feels good, and the emotional story makes each character feel justified. Blazkowicz isn't an angry man, he's a sad one who's been put down by Nazis his entire life, even his American father. Some levels are bombastic and huge, and others are small and calm. Wolfenstein is an emotional rollercoaster, and its unpredictability left me hooked. There are so many moments where I thought to myself, how the heck is he going to get out of this one? And the answer is rarely what you think it'll be. The Nazis are overwhelmingly powerful with newly developed weapons and cybersuits, but perhaps more powerful than that is simply looking around the environment and seeing the remains of a world on the edge of defeat. There's a ton of lore to uncover in the New Colossus that tell a much deeper story than what's on the surface. In between levels, you'll even return to what can be considered a hub. Every single character here changes and develops as the game goes on. You can even go into their rooms and learn what they're all about. Wolfenstein: The New Colossus nails its atmosphere, it nails the gunplay and always gives you motivation to push on. This is purely a single player shooter, but I think it more than justifies it. There were times where Wolfenstein would remind me of Half-Life, only with less friendly dogs. And Nazis. With the reboots of Doom and Wolfenstein, we're in a brilliant new era for the single-player shooter, and it's remarkable that both of these franchises are back on a Nintendo platform for the first time in over a decade. Wolfenstein's definitely more sentimental than Doom, but it justifies all the story and emotional depth with the payoff of bringing Nazis to their knees. This is a powerful game, and just about every element feels good. Despite the issue of having to restart my Switch a few times to get the menus working, the port feels brilliant. I did run into one glitch where I pretty much took the camera anywhere I want to try and find secrets and new discoveries in some of my favourite games, but that was a very weird exception. There just aren't very many first-person shooters on Switch, and when we get some as well made as this, it's hard not to appreciate all the effort and polish squeezed into every level. The game lasted around 10 hours, but there are still so many more secrets to go back and find, so much so that my completion rating was only 38%. I loved Wolfenstein: The New Colossus. There may be some downgrades visually, but purely in terms of how it plays, I had a better time with this than the first game, and I was consistently floored that the Switch could pull off such a feat. But what do you guys think of Wolfenstein? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Wolfenstein and other things gaming too. Until next time, bye!